Okay, good evening, everybody. Anyway, my name is Brent Kessler, Dr. Brent Kessler. I am a chiropractor. I actually do not practice anymore. I actually own 4 clinics in the Kansas City area, have associate docs in all my clinics, haven't practiced since 2009. And tonight, Dr. Brimhall has asked me to share with you this concept of how to become your own banker, how to create your own private family financing company. And actually, I've been using this process in my own life since about 2008. I first heard about it back in 2006. I was very skeptical. I didn't believe it worked. And then I started having a lot of my chiropractic colleagues that were implementing this process and this system, and they were doing it, and they were just amazed with how well it was working. And I said, all right, I got to find out more about this and jump on board. Well, just to make a long story short, back in 2008, anyway, I jumped in on this process, and back then I had $984,711 in third-party debt that I owed other people. I owed for my house. I owed for my student loans. I have a condo at the lake, and if you got a condo at the lake, you got to have a boat and a wave runner. I'm a pilot, so I had an airplane. So it didn't take a lot to become $1 million in debt almost. Now, I no longer, again, just with chiropractic, I am not like actively in practice. All right, I have associate docs in my clinics, and I teach this concept full time. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach it in a webinar format. So normally the way that I'll do this, I'll either just like talk to you about this, either like one-on-one. I'll do it in the format that we're doing it tonight, which is a webinar format, or I also travel around the country and I do live financial freedom workshops. And Dr. Brimhall has asked me to come to his event at the end of January in Arizona, and I will be talking about this concept there as well. Now, how come Dr. Brimhall wants you to know about this? Because he believes that it is important for all of you guys to understand about money and how money works. And that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. Dr. Like Dr. John Brimhall has been a client of ours for several years, so he is actively using this process and this concept in his own life. So tonight we're going to talk about how to make your money more efficient without you taking any additional risk, without changing your cash flow, or without you working any harder. Now, some of the concepts I'm going to share with you in this tonight, it's not going to be your normal way of thinking. You're going to have to just open up your mind a little bit and take in what I'm telling you, because I'm going to teach you the truths about money and how money actually works. It's not the way we've been taught. So it's going to require a little out-of-the-box thinking. But as I understand it, most of the individuals that are on this call are chiropractors, and in order to be a successful chiropractor, I think most of you would agree that you have to be thinking outside of the box anyway. Okay, so on my screen here, you see 3 calculators. All right, now don't get scared because we're going to use some numbers and I'll keep the math really simple. But I'm going to just say that each and every one of you own a car or you drive a car, and you probably at some time in your life you've bought a car and you're probably going to buy another car down the road sometime. So I'm going to use $25,000 car. I'm not going to go real just high on it, and I won't go real low. I'm just going to say it's a $25,000 car. And I'm going to put that $25,000 up here in this top left calculator, and I'm also going to put $25,000 down here in the bottom right calculator. Now, so I'm going to be your local banker, okay? So, like, no matter what state you're in, we'll call this the Bank of Arizona. That's where Dr. Brimhall's event is going to be in Arizona. We'll call this the Bank of Arizona. Now, I'm going to say that you have $25,000 in the Bank of Arizona, and it's earning an interest rate of 4%. Now, the thing that you do is you come into me as a banker, and you say, hey, Banker Brent, I need to take out that $25,000 out of my account that's earning 4% to go pay cash for the car. And I say, no, 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 do not do that. Don't take the $25,000 out of the bank earning 4%. Instead, I'm going to just like use this account as collateral, and I'm going to make you a loan of $25,000, and I'm going to charge you 6% interest. Now, I'm just going to hypothetically say that you're going to finance that car for 5 years or 60 months. It doesn't matter if it's less or more, but in this example, we're going to finance it for 5 years. Now, here's what I'm telling you. I'm saying that if you leave this $25,000 in the bank earning 4%, you will actually have more money at the end of 5 years earning 4 compared to what you pay in 5 years paying at 6. Now, is that true? Can that possibly be true? Can you actually make more money earning 4% at the same time you're paying 6? No, you're thinking there's no way, because if you earn 4 and pay 6, you're automatically losing 2. Well, that's exactly what I thought back when I sat in your chair and I watched this for the first time. But the banker is telling you the truth that you can make more money earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6, and I'm going to walk you through it now. So if you've got $25,000 at 6% interest for 5 years, that means your monthly payment is $483.32 a month. And if I take that times 60 months, that means your total payment on that car over 5 years, everything you paid in, is just a shade under $29,000. $25,000 for principal and almost $4,000 for interest. Now, remember, that same account that you had earning 4% over 60 months, basically you're going to have more money. You're going to have $30,525, right? So you're going to have about $1,600 more earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6. Now, how can that possibly be? And that was my question. How can you make more money earning 4 at the same time you're paying 6? Well, look, this one here, the car payment is on a decreasing balance. It goes down every month. It goes down, and the one at the bottom here goes up every month. So one goes down and one goes up. So, but that's not the way that our minds are programmed to think. We automatically think if we earn 4 and pay 6 that we're losing 2. So we have to start learning how money works. Okay? So again, you have one compounding, you have one going up every month, and the other is being paid down every month. So we have to start learning this concept. Because see, up until now, you thought if you earned 4 and paid 6, that you were losing 2. Well, as you see here, that's not the case. Now, why is this important? Because tonight what we're talking to you about is how to create your own banking system, your own private family financing system. Now, the thing that we're going to do in order to create that is we're going to use a whole life insurance policy in a company that pays dividends. Now, before you guys turn off the webinar, hang up the phone, hear me out on this. I know I mentioned life insurance, okay? Why are we going to use a whole life policy to create our banking system? Because this is what conventional banks do. The number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world are conventional banks. This is what the wealthy do. Okay, so we're just going to mimic what they do. Now, as I said, conventional banks are the number one purchasers of whole life insurance in the world. Here's how you can check that out. You can go and you can Google BOLI, B-O-L-I, or you can type in bank-owned life insurance. and you will see the hundreds and hundreds of pages that come up about how much whole life insurance conventional banks own. Now, either banks are stupid or they know something the rest of us don't know. Which one do you think it is? Yes, they know something that we don't know. So all we're going to do is we're going to mimic what they're doing. Now, guys, so this whole concept that I'm sharing with you tonight has been around for over 200 years. So it's just not nothing that I'm coming up with. It's not nothing I'm inventing. Okay, it's been around for over 200 years. Our tax code's only been around since 1913. So there's so much that we can do with this vehicle. All right. Now, why is the 4 and the 6% important? Because inside of your policy, the guaranteed growth rate is 4%. That is in your policy contract. That's tax-free. That's the guaranteed growth rate. That's assuming the company does not even pay any dividends. If they pay dividends, the growth rate is more tax-free. And then the number of the 6%, that's the highest interest rate that the insurance company is currently charging you to take a loan or to borrow money. So all I wanted to do with this little exercise is prove to you that you can make money all day long by earning 4 and paying 6. All right? Now, let's talk about money. All right? Let's have a definition for tonight's call about money. So what is your definition of money? Now, okay, so money is nothing more than a means of exchange. That's all money is. We exchange food for money, money for food, car for money, money for car, house for money, money for house. It's nothing more than a means of exchange. All right? Next thing, compound interest. If I ask you if you believe in compound interest, what would you tell me? Most everybody says, well, yeah, they definitely believe in compound interest. Well, okay. Now, compound interest, the only way compound interest works or compounding is that your money or your product has to sit still. It cannot be in motion. In other words, if you take like $100 and you take it down to the bank and you put that money into the bank, the only way you're going to earn compound interest on that is to leave it in the bank. If you go back to the bank and take the $100 out, it's no longer compounding. So it has to sit still. Okay? Now that you know the only way compounding works is that your product or your money has to sit still, I want you to think about this question I'm about to ask. I want you to name me one business in the world that uses compounding or compound interest. Just name one business, any business that you can think of. You got the answer? Probably most of you are thinking banks. You're thinking banks use compound interest. Well, let's think about this. Banks do not use compound interest. They pay you compound interest and they charge you compound interest, but they don't use it themselves. And here's what I mean. Every time you put your money into the bank, does the bank let that money sit still? No. All right, so let me give you an example. Let's say you take a $100 bill today, you take it down to the bank, and you put your initials on that $100 bill, or you mark it with a yellow highlighter. You put it into the bank, and you give it to the teller. The teller gives you the deposit slip, and you leave. Well, you decide to go back tomorrow to take out that $100 that you just put in the bank yesterday. Now, when you go back to the bank, are you going to get that same exact $100 bill back? No. Why not? Because the bank doesn't have that same $100 bill. They're moving the money. They move it. They don't let it sit in the till. They move the money. So, also, let's think of another example about who might use compound interest. What about a car, like a car dealer? Is a car dealer using compound interest? Well, no, because how much money does a car dealer make if cars aren't moving off the lot? What about a grocery store? How much do they make if groceries aren't moving off the shelves? How about you as a chiropractor? How much money do you make as a chiropractor if the headrest paper is not rolling? Zero. So not one business uses compounding or compound interest. Isn't it a little bit strange that all of the major institutions that promote compounding and compound interest do not use it themselves, such as banks, Wall Street, mutual funds, insurance companies? I mean, right? I mean, they all promote it. They all tell us to park our money with them, leave it sit still, but they don't do it themselves. Isn't that a little strange? If it's so good to park your money and leave it sit still, then why don't these institutions do it? Again, I'm trying to get you to think about what is actually going on. All right. Now, with that being said, let's talk about maybe you guys are putting money that you have right now into a retirement plan. 401k, IRA, mutual fund, something like that, right? And the reason you put your money into one of those plans is you hope to get to it later and have more. Well, I want you to think about this. Are there any guarantees at all with your retirement plan? No, there's not. Well, actually, I'm lying. There is one guarantee. It's guaranteed to never go below zero. But how exciting would that be if that actually happened? Right? Not very exciting. Now, even when you put your money into a retirement plan, so the thing that happens is you cannot get to that money until you're 59 and a half without paying penalty. So you're 59 and a half. Just think about that. Let's say if I've got somebody listening on this call right now and they're age 40 years old. You got almost 20 years before you can get to that money without paying a penalty. Now, the tax is always going to be there, isn't it? Even when you go and get the money out, the tax is going to be there. All right. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you from putting money into a retirement plan or a 401k, an IRA, or all of that stuff. I just want you to think about what's going on. Now, so let's talk about as far as just when you do put your money in there. And let's just talk about what's happening with money. Okay? Remember that we put the money in the retirement plan because we hope to get more later, but it's not guaranteed. And I bet if I asked you to tell me what do you really know about your retirement plan, probably the only thing you could tell me is if it goes up or down every month, or you may be able to tell me if it's in a low, moderate, or high risk category. But other than that, you probably don't have a clue about what's going on with your retirement plan. Now, so let's stay on this retirement thing for a minute, and let's stay on this money topic here for a minute. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, okay? I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I'm going to assume that I'm going to know how you're all going to answer. Question number 1, is $1 worth more today or in the future? Well, hopefully you answered today. $1 is always worth more today. And if you ever forget that, just think about how many candy bars you could buy 20 years ago for $1 and how many you can buy today for $1. Question number 2, do you think taxes are going to go up or go down? Probably go up. If they don't, we're going to pay tax on more stuff, right? I mean, just look at the history of what's happened to taxes. They're going up. Question number 3, if you have a choice to pay tax on the small amount, the seed, or the large amount, the harvest, which one do you want to pay tax on? Well, hopefully you answered the seed. All right? So I agree with all 3 of those answers. However, all 3 of those answers totally violate everything you're doing in your retirement plan. Because here's what you're doing. You're giving up good dollars today to get weaker ones in the future. You're compounding your tax because your tax is always going to be there. And when you do pay tax, you're going to pay it on the higher rate and not the lower rate. All right? So again, just trying to get you to think about what's going on. One more point about this. Remember earlier, we agreed that money, the definition of money is nothing more than a means of exchange. We exchange food for money, money for food, car for money, house for money. Nothing more than a means of exchange. Okay? Now remember the individual that was age 40 years old. He'd got to wait almost 20 years to get to his money and hope that there's some there, hope that there's more there. Let's just think about that for a minute. And we said money's a means of exchange. So all those things equal money. Food, car, and house, they all equal money. So let me ask you a couple questions. If you got off the phone with me today and you went to the grocery store and bought a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk, are you going to wait 5, 10, 20 years to drink it or eat it? Probably not. What about if you went to the store today and bought a car or a house? Are you going to wait 5, 10, 20, 25 years to drive it or live in it? No way. You would never do that. Well, here's my question. Why then would you do that with your money? Why would you do that with your money? See, people do things with money that they would never do with things that money buys. You would never buy a loaf of bread today, put it in the freezer, and wait 20 years to eat it. But yet you'll go put your money in a retirement account and let it sit and wait 20 years to get it and use it. Again, I'm just trying to get you to think about what is going on with your money and how you're acting. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to move on here on the screen. I'm going to show you how a conventional bank actually works. All right? Now, a conventional bank, this is any bank. I don't care if it's a big bank or a little bank. I'm going to say that you have $100,000 of your money. It doesn't matter if it's $100,000. It doesn't matter if it's 1,000. It doesn't matter if it's 1 million. I'm going to say that it's your money. Okay. Again, this is your money. Now, what you do is you take that money and you deposit it into the bank. All right, we'll call this the Bank of the United States, the bank of whatever state you live in. Now, I'm going to say that the bank is going to pay you 4% on that money when you put it in there. All right, I know they're not, but work with me on the numbers. You'll see where I'm going. Okay, every time you put your money into the bank, if the bank has to pay you interest, your money now becomes a liability to the bank. How does the bank turn your money into an asset? By loaning it. Loans are assets to banks. Now let's just think about that for just a second. A loan is an asset to a bank. However, to us, a loan is a liability, a payment, a debt, an expense. But to a bank, it's an asset. It's a profit center. So maybe we need to start thinking the way the bank thinks. And as I go through this presentation this evening, you'll understand why. All right. Now, so we said money now goes into the bank. The bank's going to pay you 4%. And when that money goes in there from the depositors, they loan it out. So what they're going to do is they're going to loan it to you or somebody to buy a house. And let's just say we're going to call that 7%. Now, if you borrow money from a bank to buy a house, are you expected to pay them back? Absolutely you are. So who's in control of that transaction? The bank. Now you're going to go borrow money from the bank to buy a car. We'll call that 8%. And if you borrow money from a bank to buy a car, you're expected to pay it back, so the bank's still in control. Now let's say you want to do a home remodel, a home equity line of credit, maybe new granite countertops or like a swimming pool, a patio, a porch, I don't know, anything at your home that you might do. We'll call that 9%. It's got to get paid back to the bank, doesn't it? Finally, let's just take the credit cards that we have, pay them off. We'll call that 12% because you're using credit cards every day. The money's got to go back into the banking system. So if you notice here, the bank is in control of all of these transactions. So you see, guys and gals, look, all banks do is they recycle money. They move it in, move it out, move it in, move it out. They regenerate the money over and over and over again. And they're in control. Now let's see how well you did and how well the bank did. We're just going to do a little simple math. Remember, I said that you earned 4%, and then on the house loan, the bank made 7, you made 4. So how much more do they make than you? 3. 7 minus 4 is 3. 8 minus 4 is 4. They made 4% more than you on the car. Then 9 minus 4 is 5. 12 minus 4 is 8. So look at this. The bank made 20% and you made 4%. The bank made 20 and you made 4. So here's my question. How much more did the bank make than you? How much more? I want you to answer that question. And most of you said 16% because 20 minus 4 is 16. Well, not quite. What about 500% more than you? Because look, if you made $4 and the bank made $20, then didn't they make 5 times what you made? Exactly right. The banks are making between 400 and 1,300% on the money that you leave there each and every year. Every year, annually, that's what they make. Now, a lot of you guys on this call are probably thinking, okay, Brent, I hear you telling me that. I hear you flapping your gums and moving your lips about how much money a bank makes, but how do I know that's really true? Well, here's what you can do. You can go out and you can get a report. It's from BauerFinancial.com. It's B-A-U-E-R, BauerFinancial.com. You can pull up the annual report from any bank that you want. I don't care if it's a little small like Hodunktown Bank or a big name bank that we all know. And I don't care if you get the report from this year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. On that report, you will see what the bank made for that year, that annual report. And I have never, ever seen one where a bank makes less than 400% annually on the money that you leave there. If you find one, if you find a bank that's making less than 400%, please email me, text me, or call me. I'm going to give you my contact info right now so you have it anyway. But if you find that report, I want you to call, email, or text me. Remember, my name, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, Kesler, K-E-S-L-E-R, Brent Kesler. My personal cell phone is 785-248-9637. Again, 785-248-9637. My email is bankwithbrent@gmail.com. Bank, B-A-N-K, with, W-I-T-H, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, @gmail.com. Call, email me, or text me about any questions that you have on these topics that I'm covering tonight. I'm here to serve and help you. And also, if you find a bank that's making less than 400% on your money. Now, okay, go back to the screen and look in the middle here. Here's what we're talking about tonight, guys, is how you are going to be the bank. Because look, guys, all this stuff you're doing anyway. You're buying houses, you're buying cars, you're doing home remodels, you're using credit cards, you're doing all of this stuff anyway. Let's just make this person right here you. Because see, I don't want to change anything that you're doing with investing, right? This tool, this concept I'm sharing with you is not an investment. I'm not telling you to stop investing or change the way you invest. Some people like to invest in cars, houses, gold, silver, antique cars, real estate, whatever it is. Continue to do that. All I'm saying is let's change one step in the process and make you the bank. Okay, now, moving on. Now I'm going to get into some fun stuff, all right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you're going to get all of the money back on all of the cars you're ever going to buy, drive, and own and use for the rest of your life, from now until the time that you graduate. Now, also, guys, I just want to tell you that any of this stuff that I'm sharing with you tonight, if you want these like slides or these examples, and just please email me, text me, or call me, and I will give you all the stuff that I'm presenting just to you tonight. Again, Brent Kessler, 785-248-9637. Email bankwithbrent@gmail.com. All right, so here's what we're going to do. You see a lot of numbers on this screen, and I'm going to break this down and make it really simple to follow and understand. All right? Remember, we said we're using a whole life policy to create our banking system. Why are we doing that? Because it's what the rich do. Conventional banks own more life insurance than all of their real estate and their land combined. All right? So remember, if the bankers are doing it, they must know something that we don't know. So we're going to mimic what the wealthy do. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you're going to get all of the money back for all the cars you're going to buy for the rest of your life. And I'm only going to use a $25,000 car. Look here where it says car purchases. All we're going to do is buy a $25,000 car starting in the third year, and every 5 years we're going to buy a new one. That's all we're going to do, okay? Because remember, you're buying the cars anyway, right? You're buying the cars anyway. So all I'm going to do is now just show you how you're going to keep the money for those cars that you're buying. Because, guys, I want you to think about this. Here's what you've been doing throughout your whole life. Anytime you go out and you buy something, you give the other person the money. Okay, you give somebody money and they give you a product or service in return. So they get the money, you get the product or service. They get the money, you get the product or service. Well, the thing we're going to do now is we're going to do that exact same thing, but now we're just going to add one step to it. Where now when you go and buy anything, okay, they're going to get the money, you're going to get the product and the service, but you're also going to recycle and regenerate and get all of the money back, so you have that money to go back out and buy that next product or service that you want. That's all. We're just adding one step. Now, if you look here at this screen, it has on the left column, it has years. All this is time. It's just time passing. Then you also have an age column and a death benefit column. Now, age and death benefit is not important, but here's what I'm going to say about it. Let's just say that you had 3 people, age 26, 66, and 96. And they were all going to go out today and they were going to buy a life insurance policy today. And let's assume they're all in equal health. Well, who's going to have the most death benefit? The oldest, the middle, or the youngest? Well, yeah, naturally, the youngest person would have the most death benefit because they're supposed to live longer. The oldest person would have the least amount of death benefit. That's just common sense. That's all you need to know about age and death benefit. But see, with this policy, we're not doing this for death benefit. We're doing it for cash. The death benefit is just the bingo, the bonanza, the icing on the cake, the cherry on the icing. We're doing this for cash. So with that being said, let's say you have those same 3 people, age 26, 66, and 96, okay? They all have a $100 bill in their pocket, and they go down today, after we get off the phone, all 3 of those, they go to the same grocery store with $100, and they want to go in and buy groceries. Well, who's going to be able to buy the most groceries? The oldest one, the youngest one, or the middle one? Well, all of them are going to buy the same, right? Because it doesn't matter. When you walk into a grocery store with a $100 bill, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, what nationality you are, right? It doesn't matter what language you speak. The same $100 buys the same amount of groceries. So age is not important when we're talking about cash. Okay. Now, this next column here is called deposits. Premium deposit. Okay, this is the amount of premium this individual is putting into their policy. In this example, they're putting $10,000 a year for 7 years. Now, I am never going to tell you how much premium to pay. You could pay more, you can pay less. You can pay monthly, quarterly, annually. The amount is up to you. But in this example, he's paying $10,000 for 7 years, and then he's no longer paying premium anymore. In real life, I would never, ever, ever have you stop paying premium after 7 years. You always want to pay premium, and you'll see why before we end this call tonight. But in this case, he's doing $10,000 a year for 7 years. Now, here's what he's going to do. Car purchases. He's going to go out and he's going to buy a $25,000 car in the 3rd year. Okay? Also, I would never, ever have you wait to use your cash just for 3 years. I wouldn't have you wait 3 years. I want you to start using the cash value in your policy immediately. My definition of immediately is within 30 days. But in this case, he's waiting 3 years to go out and buy the car. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to make payments back to himself because he's borrowing money from himself to buy the car, and he's going to pay himself back $500 a month or $6,000 a year. Now, let's talk about this for a minute about why would you want to pay yourself back when you borrow money from yourself? Well, if you borrow money from a bank, you're expected to pay them back, right? Like if you want to go out and buy a car and you borrow money from somebody else or from a bank, you're required to pay them back. However, if you borrow money from yourself or take money from yourself, you don't ever pay yourself back, do you? The answer is probably no for most everybody that's listening. And here's what I mean. Just think about the last time you went to your savings account or your checking account and you took out money. Maybe you bought a new purse, a pair of shoes, a bicycle, golf clubs. You took money out to go on a vacation. Well, when you took that money out of your account, did you set up a plan to pay yourself back? No. You didn't set up a plan to pay yourself back. We never do. So don't you think it would have been a good idea if you did? Yeah, it definitely would be. Because look, here's what I'm saying. Anytime you borrow money from yourself, you really should pay yourself back. Now, you don't have to, but if you do, it's going to make your program go a lot better and faster than it's going to go anyway. But anytime you borrow from yourself, you should pay yourself back the same way you would pay a bank back. And if you don't do that, what you're saying is that your money is not as valuable as the bank's money, and you're violating a principle we call EVA, or economic value added. So all I'm saying is that you really should pay yourself back the same way that you would pay a bank back. Okay. Now, moving on. Let's look and see what we did here after 7 years. I want you to look at year 1 to 7. We put in 10 times, okay, on this example, we put in $10,000 a year for 7 years. 10 times 7 is 70. Plus, we paid back on the car loan payment. 6 times 5 is 30. So 70 plus 30 equals 100. So we put in 100, but we took out 25 to buy the car. Put in 100, took out 25 to buy the car. So how much more did we put in than we took out? 100 minus 25 is 75,000. So through 7 years, 75,000 is your true net injection into this program. Well, how much money do you have? 67,881. So if you take 67,881, divide it into 75,000, that means you just got back 90 cents or 90% of every dollar for that very first car that you bought. Now, how would you like to have 90 cents back of every dollar for every car you bought all the way up to this point in your life. Be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Because right now, if I asked you how much of the money do you have from all the cars you've ever bought up to this point in your life, you're going to tell me zero. That's what you're going to tell me, is you have nothing. So if I can just get you 90 cents of every dollar back, we're 90% off better, aren't we? Okay, now watch. Remember, this is the first car. Now we're going to go buy a second car because that car wears out. So now I want you to look at line 8 to 12. 8 to 12. We're going to go buy the second car for $25,000. Well, now, okay, so where is the money going to come from? It's going to come from the 67. So we go buy the second car. We're no longer paying premium anymore. We're just going to pay back $500 a month, $6,000 a year for 5 years. So we're going to pay back 30. So if you look in year 8 to 12, we put in 30, took out 25. Put in 30, took out 25. How much more did we put in than we took out? Well, 30 minus 25 is 5. So our true net injection is $5,000. How much cash do we now have in our program? 91. So our policy grew from 67 to 91. That's a $23,000 growth with a $5,000 net injection. How are we doing? We doing okay buying cars? I would say so. Now, we're going to go buy the next car in year 13. I want you just to look at year 13 to 17. All right? We take out 25 to buy the car. Where does it come from? It comes from the 91. We pay ourselves back just like we did before. $6,000 a year times 5 years is 30. So again, we put in 30, took out 25. Put in 30, took out 25. How much more did we put in than we took out? $5,000. How much cash do we have? $123. Our program grew from 91 to 123. That's a $32,000 growth with a $5,000 injection. Can you see how these numbers are just growing bigger the longer it goes? Now, are we in this for the short term, long term? Hopefully you all said the long term. And if you just said the short term, then hang up the phone right now, turn off your computer, and walk away, because this isn't for you. All right. Now, watch this, guys and gals. Watch this. Look at year 1 to 12. Look what we've done in 12 years. Remember, year 1 through 7, 10 times 7 is 70, 6 times 5 is 30. So that's 100 plus 30. So we put in 130. 130 in 12 years. But we took out money to buy the two cars, 25 and 25, which is 50. So we put in 130, took out 50. Put in 130, took out 50. How much more did we put in than we took out? 80. 130 minus 50 is 80. How much cash do we now have in our program in 12 years? Yes, that's right, 91,000. So are you telling me that through 12 years, we actually put in, our net injection is $80,000. Here we are in the 12th year, we have 91,000 in our account, plus we have the two cars sitting on our driveway, a 5-year-old car and a 10-year-old car that we bought new and paid $25,000 for. They're still sitting on the driveway. We can still drive them, own them, and use them. Our true net injection is 80. We have 91 in the account and the two cars in our driveway. If that's true, which it is, then how much did those cars really cost you to drive? Well, if you put in 80 as your net injection and you have 91 and you have the two cars on the driveway, the way my simple chiropractic mind works is I've got $11,000 more than I put in, plus I have the two cars. Well, that's exactly right. So did I just show you how to get all of the money back for all of the cars you're ever going to buy, drive, and own for the rest of your life? Absolutely. And if you don't believe me, And if you think there's some kind of trick to this or a catch, you need to call me. Call me, text me, or email me, and let me go through it again with you. Remember, Brent the Kessler, 785-248-9637 is my cell phone. My email is bankwithbrent@gmail.com. Call me, text me, email me 7 days a week, early morning, late at night. I don't care. I'm here to serve you and to help you to recapture all of the money back that you're spending anyway, and to break the bonds of financial slavery that most of you don't even realize that you're in. Now, guys, look at this. Just kind of step back and look at this chart. And I just kind of showed 17 years of what we did, and I really highlighted 12 years. Is there anything stupid or crazy or ridiculous that we did in this time frame? No, we didn't. All we did is bought the cars. Look, guys and gals, you're going to buy the cars anyway. Whether you use this process or another process, you're going to buy the cars anyway. All we did is open up this stupid little life insurance policy, and we're using that as our banking system. I'm not even talking about the death benefit. I'm just talking about the cash. Just like, look at the death benefit numbers over here. Look how big those are. If something happens and you die, the death benefit goes to your beneficiaries tax-free, doesn't it? Correct, it does. So I just wanted to prove to you that you can get all of the money back for all of the cars you're ever going to buy, drive, and own. Now, another thing I want you to think about is I just used the example of a $25,000 car. What if this was a $50,000 car, and instead of paying ourselves $6,000 a year back, we were paying ourselves $12,000? What would happen to the numbers? Yeah, they would be bigger. What about if Mama had a $50,000 car and Daddy had a $50,000 car? They would still be bigger. Now, also, this is a car. The reason I use a car when I teach this is because most of you guys are driving or have access to a car or own a car or use a car. Could you do this with a vacation? Could you do it with golf clubs? Could you do it with a house, a boat, a motorcycle, a jet ski? Could you do it with your state and federal income taxes? Wow, there's a thought. You mean I could actually get all of the money back for all of the taxes that I pay? What about your electricity and your food that you use? What about charitable giving? Could you give to charity and get all of your money back? Yeah. Clients do it every day. We see it happening all the time. So you can give to your charity and get all of your money back. Yeah, that way you have more to give, don't you, when you are able to recycle it. You can give more the next time. Now, some people have a hard time with God on that. They don't think it's a good thing to get their money back for the charity that they give. They have a hard time with that concept. Well, if God did not want you to know this concept, He would have never brought it to your attention. All right? Remember, there's no poor people that are adding wings to churches. The wealthy are doing that. So why don't you set yourself up into a system to where you are able to give more and serve more people? Just a thought. All right. Now, last thing I'm going to show you. All right, I'm going to kind of bring all of this together. This is called a financial GPS. Now, every one of our clients, we create a financial GPS for them. Now, I'm going to kind of walk you through this, okay? And so this is a real-life example. Now, remember at the beginning of the call, and I think I stated this, remember back when I started this concept, I was $984,711 in debt. That's what I owed to third-party creditors, $984,711. Well, I was able to recapture all of that debt in 39 months. 3 years and 3 months without working harder, changing my cash flow, or taking any additional risk. I'm going to walk through now, and I'm going to show you how that is done. Now, I'm not going to walk through my specific scenario. It would take way too long, but I've got a case that's already done. It's complete, and I'm going to show you what this family did. Now, anyway, this individual, when he came to us, he's a chiropractor in the state of Minnesota, age 47 years old. Okay, he was misdiagnosed with Lyme's disease. His wife's biggest concern was they were going to have to pull their kids out of the University of Minnesota because they had 14 third-party debts. All right, and they owed a total of $420,000 on these debts. Now, I want you to write down on a piece of paper that he owes $420,000. Now, here's who he owes. I'm going to walk through the 14 debts and show you who he owes. He owes Home Depot, Target, Chase, Barclays. Those are all credit cards. He owes Wallace Practice, U.S. Bank, IRS, First Bank and Trust, and Sears card. He owes a second First Bank and Trust, JW Practice, a third First Bank and Trust, a loan to Ray, house number 2, and house number 1. All right? Now, add all of those up, it's $420,000. All right? If you look at each column, each box, it shows you who he owes, how much he owes, what his minimum monthly payment is, his interest rate, and the amount of time he has left on the loan. Now, here's what he's going to do. Look all the way over here to the left, the column that says months. All these numbers are months. The ones in parentheses are years. He's going to start his first policy for $20,000 a year in premium. Remember, I'm never going to tell you what to pay in premium. In this case, he's going to do $20,000 though. How did he come up with the $20,000? Well, he wasn't sure what number to use. So we asked him, we said, Doc, did you see patients in your office yesterday? He said, yep. I said, did they all come in? He said, no, they never all come in. I said, well, did some walk-in? He said, yeah, we get some walk-in. I said, okay, so 1, 2, or 3 patients a day is not going to make or break your lifestyle, right? He said, nope, 2 patients a day I can handle. Will not make or break my lifestyle. So I said, Doc, how much is an average patient worth to you? He said, $50 a piece. I said, $50 a visit. I said, you better contact that Dr. John Brimhall to see how you can get your case average up, because that's way too low. All right. No, just kidding. All right. But anyway, he said $50 a piece, $100 a day, or actually 2 patients a day, $50 a piece. He said he could afford $100 a day. He works 200 days a year. That's $20,000 a year. Okay? Now, so he said he could afford $20,000 to put towards his debt. So that's how he came up with his number. For you, it may be smaller, it may be bigger. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you start tackling the debt, recapturing and recycling your money. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through it now. Now on your paper, I want you to have written down that he owes $420,000. He's going to put $20,000 a year towards that debt, and just for simple math, assume there's no interest. How long would it take to pay off $420 at $20,000 a year? $20,000 a year goes into $420 21 times, so 21 years. So write down on your paper he owes $420. He's going to put $20,000 a year towards it. It should take him 21 years. Let's see how well he does. Let's start the process. So in the very first month of the first year, he puts in 20. He immediately borrows 11.2. He takes that 11.2 and he's going to start paying down debt. He pays off Home Depot, Target, Chase card, and he pays Barclays down from $72.50 to $63.10. He takes that money that was going out to the other creditors, the $200 in Home Depot, $200 in Target, $228 in Chase, and $35 in Barclays. Okay, so the difference between $300 and $265 is $35. Add all of those up, it comes to $663 a month. I'm going to call it $665 a month because I can add even numbers in my head better. So hopefully you're okay with the extra $2. All right. So that money that was going to the third-party creditors is now coming back to him because he paid them off, and he's just going to pay himself back the money he no longer has to pay the creditors. So is he changing his cash flow? Is he working harder, or is he taking any additional risk? No. He's just changing the process of who gets the money. All right? Now, remember, on this debt load, here's what I want you to think about. He owes $420,000 in debt. A lot of debts, 14 debts. So I want you to think of the debt as an elephant on your dining room table. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's all we're going to do is eat this debt down one bite at a time. Now, there's probably at least one person on the call that's thinking, well, you know what? This concept just would not work for me because I don't have any debt. Well, really? You have no debt? Well, look, guys, you can't look at this as just debt. You have to look at it as expense. And here's what I would say to the person that tells me they have no debt. All right? Let's say that you live in Arizona. How comfortable is it in the summertime in Arizona without air conditioning? Not very. Let's say if you live in Minnesota. How comfortable is it in Minnesota in the wintertime without heat? Not very. So you always have expense, don't you? You have electric, you have food. Even if your house is paid off, you still have property tax, don't you? You have state tax maybe, depending on what state you live in. You have to pay Uncle Sam. And if you guys aren't paying Uncle Sam income tax, then please call me, Brent Kessler, at 785-248-9637, or email me, bankwithbrent@gmail.com. And please tell me how you're not paying Uncle Sam, because then I've got something that I can learn from you. All right? So my point is don't think of this as debt only. Think of it as all the expense, because you want to recycle all the expense. And chiropractors is who's on this Brimhall call tonight, right? Aren't all of you guys, most of you guys chiropractors? Well, you have office overhead. You have either a rent or mortgage. You're buying headrest paper. You're buying equipment, x-ray machines, maybe some beamers, right? You're buying tables. So you have expense, you have overhead, you have employees. Let's recycle and recapture all that money. Open your mind, expand your mind. This is infinite. All right. So again, we're paying $665 a month back to ourselves. If you notice, we get to the 8th month here, we now pay $1720 a month. Why is that? Because look at Wallace Practice. Wallace Practice only had 7 months left on the loan when we started. And we were paying $1054 a month. So what we're going to do is add that $1054 to the $665, and now he's going to pay $1720. Now he didn't have to do that. He could have said, "No, Wallace Practice is paid off. I don't want to pay that anymore into my program." That's fine. Then he would have just paid $665. He's the banker and he's in control. All right. So we get to the end of the first year, beginning of the second year, month 13, we pay premium again of $20. We immediately borrow $17.5 of that $20. Remember what my definition of immediately is, within 30 days. So we take the $17.5 plus the $13.2 we've been paying ourselves back, so we have a little under $31,000. We take that $31,000, we pay down Barclays, okay, so now we pay off Barclays, we pay off the rest of U.S. Bank, IRS, First Bank of Trust, and we pay Sears card down from $11,900 to $2,100. We take that money that was going out to other people, and we pay ourselves back. The difference in Sears is $245 a month, plus $725, $425, $250, and $265 to Barclays. We add those up and add them together with the $1720 we were paying ourselves back. Now we're paying ourselves back $36.25 a month. Are we changing our cash flow? Are we working any harder? Are we taking any additional risk? No. All we're doing is changing the process of who gets the money. Remember, before we were flying into a financial headwind. Now we're starting to change the current a little bit more, and now it's starting to become a financial tailwind. Okay? We just continue on with life. The sun is coming up, the sun is going down. We're just living life. We owe the debts anyway. We get to the end of the second year, beginning of the third year. We now, month 25, we pay 20 in our premium. We borrow 18.2 of that 20. Now, here's the thing I want you to think about. When you pay premium into your whole life policy that pays dividends, you can no longer think of it as a payment. Yes, I know it is a payment, but in your mind, you have to think of it as a deposit. Because if the money is going into an account that you control, is it treated more like a payment or a deposit? Correct, a deposit. And what word do you like better, payment or deposit? I hopefully you said deposit. And have you ever made too many deposits in your bank account? I assume not. All right, month 25, we borrow the 18.2 plus the 43.5 from paying ourselves back. We have 61.7. We take that 61.7. We pay off Sears, First Bank and Trust, JW Practice, another First Bank and Trust, and the loan to Ray. We take that money that we were paying to other people, 637, 427, 535, 495, plus 55 we had left on the Sears card. Add that to the 3625. We were paying ourselves back. Now we're paying ourselves back $57.75 a month. We're still not changing our cash flow, working harder, or taking any additional risk. We get to the end of the third year, beginning of the fourth year, month 37. Pay premium again of 20. Now we borrow 19 of the 20. 19 plus the 69 from the previous 12 months is 88. We take that 88 and we pay down house number 2 from $95,000 to $6,900. In the very next month, month 38, we now have enough money to pay off house number 2. So guys and gals, here we are. We're 38 months into this thing. We've eliminated 13 of the 14 third-party debts. How are we doing? Pretty good, right? We continue to pay ourselves back, just like we've been doing before. We get to the end of the fourth year, the beginning of the fifth year, month 49. We now don't pay 20 in premium anymore. We only pay 8. I'm not going to go into why. I'll go into that more if you want to learn more about this process, okay? But just know we're only going to pay 8 now. Again, if you want to learn more about what I'm sharing with you tonight, and you want to know how it would affect your own personal situation, let me educate you a little bit more. Let me help you understand how this would apply to your life, whether you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. All right? You need to understand this. And if you're confused and you don't understand it, then let me help you. I'm never going to ask you to buy anything. I'm only going to educate you on the process and how it works. Again, my name is Brent Kessler. My number is 785-248-9637. That's my cell phone. Call, text me. My email is bank, B-A-N-K, with, W-I-T-H, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, bankwithbrent @gmail.com. All right, and just as a side note, I encourage you all to get to the Brimhall event in Arizona at the end of January. I will be there at that event for the whole time, and I will be talking and teaching about this whole financial process at the Brimhall event in person. All right, now let's go back. Look at month 49. We paid premium again of $8,000. Okay. Now remember earlier I told you you would never, ever want to stop paying your premium? Well, look how much you can borrow from the 8. Look how much cash value from that 8,000 you have. 9,300, more than you put in. Now, I'm not going to get to this in my presentation, but I want you to roll your eyes down there to line 61. Can you see the next year when you put in 8 and you even have more? And those numbers just continue to go up. So how hard is it for you to give up $8 if you're going to turn around and get back $9.31? And you can do more, just add zeros onto it. Put in 800, get back 931. 8,000, get back 9,300. 80,000, 93,000. 800,000, 931,000. You add the zeros wherever you want to put them. But if you know that you're going to get back more now, are you ever going to want to stop paying premium? No, never, ever, ever. Okay? And again, you gotta get that. If you don't understand it, call me. Call me, text me, email me. Now we're going to start a second policy, policy number 2. All right? If you work with us, I will show you that you should never wait more than 4 years to start a second policy. Now, out of the 4,400 clients that we work with, 91% of those will start a second policy within the first 6 months. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. 91% of everybody that started a policy with us will come back for more and start more policies. Within the first 6 months, we have 70% of those will come back and start a second policy. Now, I like to share that with you for this reason, because if this wasn't working for people around the country, do you think 91 out of 100 would be coming back for more? Definitely not. Could you imagine if you had 91% of all the patients you've ever treated coming back in for more care? So I'm just very proud to share that with you, because we are making a difference and we're changing the financial lives of people. Professionals, chiropractors, dentists, orthodontists, people that own businesses, people that work just regular jobs, regular W-2 wage earners. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. Everybody needs to take control of their financial life. Okay, line 49, we're almost done. We put in 8, borrow 9,300. Start the new policy for 20, borrow 11,1. So we got 9,300, 11,1, and 71,3 that we've been paying ourselves back, 91,8. We take that 91,8, we pay down the last house from 145 to 54. Continue to pay ourselves back like we were before, and look what happens in month 57. In month 57, we now have enough money to pay off that last house. In 57 months, we just eliminated $420,000 of debt. Now go back to your screen, or I'm sorry, go back to your sheet of paper and look what you wrote down. How long did I say it was going to take us to do it? 21 years. Well, it didn't take 21, 20, 15, 10, or 5. We did it in 57 months. And this case is already done. In real life, they completed this in 44 months, plus they financed 2 additional cars on their GPS. How happy do you think this family was? Yes, they were elated. Now look at this. I'm just going to share a couple quick points with you, important points, and I'll be done. I want you to look here at what we did. In year 1, we put in 20. In year 2, we put in 20. 3 and 4, we put in 20. That's a total of 80,000. And then in the beginning of year 5, 8 plus 20, so 80 plus 28 is 108. So we injected $108,000 of outside money and paid off $420,000 of debt. The creditors are eliminated. Now, watch this, guys. Watch what I'm going to show you here. I'm going to show you why the banks are so big, why they're everywhere. No matter what towns you live in, when you drive down in your town, you pull up to a major intersection, I want you to look at the four corners of the next major intersection when you're driving. Look at all four corners, and what is one building that you see on at least one of those corners of the major intersection? It's a bank. Now, are the banks on the bad property, rundown landscaping and architecture, or are they the nicest buildings in town? They're the nicest buildings, and they're everywhere. Well, who's paying for those? We are, the depositors. Now, watch this. If this family does nothing more but just continue to pay themselves back the money they had already agreed to pay the bank, watch how much money they would have. Let's just isolate 2 of the 14 debts that he had, house number 2 and house number 1. Now, if you notice on house number 2, how much is his monthly payment? $751 a month, okay? And when he came to our door 57 months ago, this is how long he had left to pay on it, was 334 months. So let's subtract the 57 months that he's been paying. So 334 minus 57 is 277 months. So he would still owe 277 months on that debt if he was paying the bank, wouldn't he? Right? In other words, if he would have came to our door and said, nope, I'm not going to do this process, Brent, it looks too good to be true, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to go away, I'm going to go on with my conventional way of thinking and just continue to pay my mortgage. Here's how much he would still owe, right? The 277 months. But instead he's done this, so now he's just going to take that same money and pay himself back. Now let's look at house number 1. 11-11-08. 11-11-08. And how long did he have left? 274 months. Let's subtract the 57 that we've been doing this. So we would still have 217 months left. So I want you to add the 2 future value numbers in that calculator. If he does nothing more but continue to pay himself back the money he had already agreed to pay the mortgage company, can you see here where he would have just a little under $450,000 in his account, all without changing his cash flow, working any harder, or taking any more risk. And he would have the house. He would have the $450,000 plus the house. But look, it gets better than that. Because remember on the call I told you earlier, I said the guaranteed growth rate in your policy is 4%. Well, we got to add that in there, don't we? So now look at those 2 future value numbers. How about if you have just a little under $700,000 and the house? If he does not do this, ladies and gentlemen, who gets that $700,000? The banks. Now do you see why they're so big and they're everywhere? Because this is what they're doing. All we're going to do is take their place. We're not doing anything stupid or silly here. We're just going to use our policy for our banking system. And we're going to start using it immediately within 30 days. Look, here is my belief. This is just my opinion. Now that you understand this information, I don't care, again, if you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour, everybody needs to break the bonds of financial slavery. And if you don't do this, now that you know it, this is just my opinion, if you don't do this, not only are you stealing from yourself and your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and future generations to come, because what you're doing is you're letting money leave the family. You see, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgan Stanleys, Barclays, they all understood how to keep money in the family. All we're going to do, guys, is use the tools the wealthy do. Let's just think about this. There's you and me and the super wealthy. You and me and the super wealthy. We all have access to the same financial tools, don't we? The only difference between us and them is they use the tools differently. That's it. Now that I understand how to play the game, I've been playing the game since 2008, and I'm getting wealthy by doing it. I'm just using the tools and the concepts and the systems and implementing what the wealthy do. That's it. I think about this quote every day. I'm going to share a quote with you. In October 2008, there's a guy named Warren Buffett. And here's what Warren Buffett said. Warren Buffett said, if poor people would just start doing what rich people do, they wouldn't be poor anymore. I think about that every day. Now, last thing I'm going to say, and I'm totally done. Let's just call it the way that it really is. There's only one of two things that's going to happen to everybody on this call. Everybody that's listening to this, there's only one of two things that are going to happen to us in the next 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, 10 months, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Only one of two things will happen to us. We're either going to live or we're going to die. We're going to live or we're going to die. Now, if we live, are we better off with or without this program I just shared with you? I'm assuming you're saying with. If we die, are our beneficiaries better off with or without this program I'm sharing with you? Well, with, because of the death benefit. Now, how much tonight did I talk about death benefit? How much did I talk about that your policy is protected against lawsuits and judgments? How much did I talk about the internal growth of the policy grows tax-free? How much did I talk about that loans don't even have to be paid back? Yeah, that's right. Loans do not have to be paid back as long as your policy, you're keeping it in force, because a loan on a policy is nothing more than a prepayment of a death benefit. How much did I talk about that the death benefit goes to your beneficiaries tax-free? See, I just touched on the surface of this. This is like basic level 101 stuff. There is so much more that I don't even have the time to share with you. So please, I'm done. Call me, text me, email me if you want to learn more. My number, again, my name, Brent Kessler, 785-248-9637. Again, 785-248-9637. Brent Kessler. My email, bank with Brent, B-A-N-K, with W-I-T-H, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, bank with Brent at gmail.com. I appreciate your time this evening, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to seeing you all at the Dr. John Brimhall event in Arizona at the end of January. So thanks for your time, and everybody have a great day. Take care.